Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and it is 2021. And how should you invest in 2021 to make sure you actually make a lot of money in the future? And by the way, if I'm being honest here, guys, 99.99999% of all the advice I give basically on investing is actually not mine. I only used my own advice once. That was when I was 19 years old with around 10K, and I made money, yes, but that advice would not have taken me to where I am right now, because in reality, the advice I have now, the ideas I have now come from three people, usually. And that's going to be Warren Buffett, right? The famous investor, number one. On top of that, John C. Bogle, the guy that created the whole index fund vibe with Vanguard. And lastly, Arcade. And Arcade is actually a fictional character from a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. So all those people right there, well, those three people right there, took me from basically investing 10K to now investing over $200,000 at age 24. And that's the whole idea. So in this video, I'll give you the advice passed on to me from these people that I've become a student of, okay? And this advice, trust me, is going to be 10 times better than my own personal advice as a 24-year-old. The whole goal is to be a steward of knowledge. That means basically you have to learn from other people. And if someone has been in the game for 50 years, why not grab that knowledge and not have to teach yourself all that knowledge all over again over a 50-year period, right? So it's all about grabbing information and using it for your benefit. Now, if you guys are new here, I post videos every single day, so make sure to also subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified. And on top of that, also destroy the like button. Now, the very first thing, guys, is basically I'll tell you exactly how to invest based on exactly how I invest my money currently. Now, remember this, guys. Yeah. Now, remember this, guys, okay? When I first started investing, I was 19 years old, and I was making around $8.75. And I managed to go ahead and save around $10,000. Now, with this money, I made 4 investments. And honestly, these 4 investments were not that bad because I got very, very lucky. However, I got very lucky in 3 of them. And I lost money in 1 of them, right? And that one right there cost me around $1,000, a little bit more, okay? And that was called GoPro. I bought at a very high price and I never actually sold. And back then, I was very stubborn. And again, I did not have the knowledge that I have right now. Now, here's the overall idea, guys, okay? Remember, back then, $1,000 was a lot of money. Till this day, it is a lot of money, right? But remember, I was making $8.75. Minimum wage today is around 15 bucks, so it is still a lot of money. But divided by $8.75, I lost around 114 hours of my time just like that. And that's when I knew, hey, I just can't go out there and play Mr. Investor. I need to know exactly what the heck I'm doing. And that's when I started to learn more and more and more about investing. I learned about compound interest. I learned about ETFs, index funds, how to pick stocks. I learned basically about everything to choose exactly what was going to be right for me. Now, in 2018, guys, I finally took the first step again to go ahead and start investing. I started with an app called Acorns. With Acorns, I started with $7. However, I ended that relationship because basically I did not like that they basically had the power to change my entire portfolio whenever they actually wanted, okay? So I stopped investing with them, and today I invest just with M1 Finance. Now, I'll tell you exactly what I invest my money into, but again, I follow the principles of Warren Buffett, John C. Bogle, and also Arcade. And by the way, by the end of this video, I'll tell you everything I learned from them. However, here's exactly what I invest my money into today. So this right here, guys, is my phone, just black and white here because basically I want to make my phone boring, so I don't use it that much, okay? But it is my phone, boom, 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 boom. You guys know this. But now, let's go over to the app I use the most right now for investing. And that app is called M1 Finance. And right here, I've invested around $173,000, with Vanguard around $42,000, and with SoFi around $60,000. So in total, it's a little bit over $20,000, but in reality, I'm moving that money over to M1 Finance because basically it's the only app I use today because basically it's one of the best apps. It gives me control, makes things easy, and it basically helps me with automatic investing, which is basically one of the best things ever invented, if you ask me. However, the goal is, guys, not the dollar amount. Again, when I first started, I started with $7. Not a lot of money at all, okay? But the idea is, here's exactly what I invest my money into. I invest my money into 7 different ETFs. And by the way, if you want to invest into Vanguard and pick, for example, index funds, I'll show you those also by the end of this video. Now, overall, these 7 ETFs are basically the catalyst to the way I invest. Again, my goal as an investor is not to go out there and pick stocks and basically risk my money picking the wrong ones. By the way, being an investor like that is a full-time gig, and that's not what I want to do. My goal is, hey, I have extra money, I go ahead and invest it every time I get paid, and that's the overall goal. I just want to build passive income over time. I don't want to spend 8 to 10 hours a day just reading statements and finding exactly what the best stock to pick actually is. So in this case, okay, these 7 ETFs are basically, the first one is called VOO. And by the way, an ETF is an exchange traded fund, and the idea is that the value of the ETF is based on the underlying investment. So this one ETF contains around 500 of the largest companies in the US stock market, and that's why it's called the Vanguard S&P 500, okay? So I basically own the largest 500 companies in the US, meaning, okay, I have a lot of diversification. So if one company fails, it does not matter that much. Now right here, I invest around 38% of all of my money. So every time I invest money, 38% goes straight into this. And the good thing about M1 Finance is basically it does it automatically for you. That way, you don't have to be thinking and doing math every time you go ahead and invest. Now, the second investment is basically VEA. It's called the Vanguard Developed Market ETF. Now, this means basically, although America is great, right? Number 1 right now, right? However, sometimes the international market is going to outperform us, okay? Like China, Europe, like the big developed markets. And this is basically what this ETF is actually investing into. It's over 1,000 different stocks, yes, but it's basically into the international stock market. Now, right here, I only put around 16% because basically, guess what? It's not a lot of money, but because basically I want to be investing the bulk of my money into the US market. Because basically the US market is growing a lot faster than the international market. That's the overall idea. But some years we're going to do great. Some years they're going to do great also. That's the entire point. And that's why I want a piece of both markets. Then I also have VB, Vanguard Small Cap ETF. And I only invest around 14% of my money. Now this right here is high growth, but it's also very risky because basically you're investing into smaller companies, over 1,000 small companies also. Now the point is, okay, when you invest into small companies, they have very high potential for a lot of growth and also very high potential for a lot of losses. So right now, I'm only up around 37%, but again, I'm not gonna go ahead and put my money into it because basically I know sometimes I'm going to be down by a lot, but sometimes I'm going to be up by a lot. So the goal is only 14% of my money is going to be put into the VB, the small cap. A lot of growth, but sometimes not that much growth. On top of that, I also own bonds. Now, the rule I follow with bonds is basically, it all depends on your temperament. Some people are okay with not having bonds because bonds, by the way, are very stable. They're not for a lot of growth or anything like that, but they do give you stability in your portfolio. Now, for me, I do 20% of my money into bonds, 10% into basically corporate bonds, and 10% into treasury bonds. Now, Tommy, why would you do this if you're only in your 20s? Because basically, I want to be able to sleep better at night. However, when I get a lot older, maybe 40s or 50s or 60s, maybe 60s or so, okay, I can go ahead and invest more money into bonds because basically by that point, I already won the game. So there's no sense in going ahead and basically risking all my money in the stock market anymore, okay? Over time, it'll grow, yes, but once you hit 60, you don't have that much time to allow compound interest to take effect. So usually, you want to switch over to a more bond-based portfolio once you won the game. So here we have 10% into LQD, corporate bonds, and then into SHY, SHY, into treasury bonds, okay? 10% into that also. Now, number 6 is actually VNQ, which is basically a REIT, a real estate investment trust. Now, the overall idea is basically, although the stock market is great, Although bonds are great, I also want to have some money into real estate. That way I'm diversified across the board, because some years stocks might be down, bonds might be up, and the real estate market might be actually up. Okay, so the idea is I want to have some diversification across that market right there. So overall, I only invest around 8%. And right now, I'm up around 21%. And lastly, you also have emerging markets, only 4%. Why? Because emerging markets are markets just coming up, meaning there's a lot of risk there and also a lot of potential for a lot of growth. But again, there's a lot of risk, and that's why I only put around 4%. Now overall, that's basically what I invest my money into. If you want to do the exact same thing, I have a link down below. When you click it, it takes you right there. You can go ahead and invest directly into my portfolio. But it's not about what I invest into, but more of why I invest the way I invest. And again, the idea is I want to own a piece of basically the overall market. That way, I don't carry that much risk. It's not about buying one stock and getting rich. It's about basically owning the whole market, getting the average return, and that way, over a long period of time, you become more and more and more wealthy. That's the overall goal. And by the way, if you want to do this, for example, with index funds, the idea is I also have the exact portfolio, but in index fund form and not in ETF form. So basically, here's right here. So if you want to screenshot this and do it, for example, with Vanguard, well, go ahead and screenshot this and basically do the exact same thing also with index funds. The whole goal is to have a portfolio that overall is basically very balanced. That's the whole idea. Now, overall, guys, I do want to give you some advice if you want to copy exactly the way I invest. The first thing is you want to do dollar cost average. That basically means, hey, when you get paid, just grab some of that money every single time and put it in your investment portfolio. That way, you're not buying way too high. And the idea is you buy every time you get paid, which means you'll get the overall price of the market. That's called dollar cost average. And that way, you don't carry that much risk. You don't want to invest only when the market is high, because basically you're buying at a premium. But if you buy always, the answer is you will get the average price. Second is, okay, you want to do rebalancing. Now, if you invest with M1 Finance the way I do, you don't have to worry about this. However, if you don't, the answer is sometimes your portfolio is going to be out of whack. So you know how I have, for example, like 38% here, 16, 14, 8, 10, 10, 4? The answer is sometimes some investments in the portfolio are going to outperform others. So everything will be out of whack. So what you want to do sometimes is basically go ahead and say, hey, I want to sell the ones that are too out of whack, like they have way too much money, sell those and buy some of the ones that are basically underpriced or underweighted, okay? That's the whole idea. So basically, if I have 50% bonds and 50% stocks, but now stocks are 60%, I want to go ahead and sell 10% of that and then use that 10% to go ahead and buy some more bonds. That way, I come right back to the 50-50 split that I actually want. And lastly, guys, okay, you also want to be patient. The whole game here is patience. It's not about having $100,000 or $200,000, but the answer is it's all about if you get paid money, you grab 15 to 25% of that money and you go ahead and start investing it into your portfolio. And over time, that money will start to build up. For example, guys, okay, let's say, hey, you know what, Tommy? Show me an example. For example, guys, okay, let's say you start off with $0. And by the way, this is a compound interest calculator, my favorite thing ever. But let's say, right, you start with like a 50K salary and you invest 20% of that. That's around 10K every single year. It sounds like a lot, right? But when you break it down, $10,000 divided by 365, you're investing around $27 every single day for your future. Now, if you did this, okay, consistently, say for example, for 30 years at a 10% return, what would happen? You would have around $1.8 million. That's how cool this actually is. Now, by the way, if you don't have that much money, let's say you only invested $500 every single month, right? Which is basically only $6K. Well, in reality, $6,000 a year invested over 30 years is going to give you around $1 million. So it is still a ton of money. The goal is just start investing. Don't worry about having a lot of money. Start with what you have. That way, when you get older and you're already there, you know, old age, you have all that money there to do whatever you actually want to do. Okay, now, I do want to say one thing, guys. Basically, the goal is not to go ahead and get rich in 5 years and retire. The goal is to say, hey, I love the job I do, right? That's awesome. But I also keep investing to the future. I want to have more options to do whatever I actually want to do. But I don't recommend working a job you hate to then basically take care of you, but you're miserable and you don't like it. So make sure, again, you need to have an employment, a job that you actually enjoy. That way you can invest for your future, yes, but you're also enjoying that journey along the way. Now, lastly, I promise you guys I will tell you exactly what I learned from Warren Buffett, John C. Bogle, and basically also Arkett, the fictional character. Now, Warren Buffett taught me two things. He taught me knowledge and patience. If you don't know and you don't understand what you're investing money into, then don't do it. On top of it, you have to be patient to only invest when the time is right. In this case, we're doing dollar cost average is going to be every time usually you get paid. Second, John C. Bogle, what did he teach me? The answer, he taught me basically, hey, investing into individual stocks is not for everyone. Sometimes the best strategy is going to be to own the overall market, diversify, and that way you don't carry that much risk. And then John C. Bogle taught me basically it's okay not to invest, for example, into individual stocks. Sometimes the best strategy is to go ahead and say, hey, I want to own the overall market and make money passively by getting the overall return, which is basically between 9 to 11 to 12% on average over a long period of time in the stock market. And lastly, Arkett, the guy from The Richest Man in Babylon, right? The richest guy there, right? The answer, he's taught me that basically your income is going to be your most powerful tool to basically building wealth. And you can't give that up to a bunch of debt, a bunch of things you don't need. The answer is use your income in the beginning to build wealth, and then that will pay off eventually. And with that money, you can go ahead and enjoy life a lot more. And you also taught me the rules of gold, how to actually go ahead and manage money. By the way, I recommend everyone out there reads that book, The Richest Man in Babylon. One of the best books I ever read in my entire life. But overall, guys, that is basically it. When it comes to investing, that's what I recommend for 2021, 2022, and like forever, for a long, long period of time. And that is what I'm going to be doing for a long, long, long time. And I'll see you guys next time. And as always, comment down below any questions. On top of that, also like, subscribe, hit the bell, get notified. And if you guys want to text me, well, join me on Patreon, link down below, or send me a DM on Instagram at TommyBryson. And before I go, if you want to watch another video, well, here's that video right here, and click my face right here. See you guys tomorrow. And as always, peace.